All right, Chad. Welcome to
What's up,
Security Halt
Jenny?
podcast, man. It's a pleasure to have you here, brother. It's
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
absolutely, man. It's awesome to see it's any organization that's out there that's helping our service members. I love to connect with them. But when it's a nonprofit that's being led by another Green Beret, then I just got to make that happen, man. And as soon as I saw you pop up my feed, I was like, I got to bring this dude in. So, Chad, welcome.
Well,
Tell us about
thanks.
yourself, and then we'll talk about the business later. But
Mhm.
tell us about yourself, my man.
Former cool guy. I did my 20 years at 10th group, retired out July of 2023. So I got in July of '03. Did all my time at 10th Special Forces Group. Was really fortunate
Damn.
to have my time there. Had a stint going to SWIP. Found my way to DLI to dodge that. So did 6 months of French. It's a PCS, baby. It's the best kept secret in group. You can go there for a second language, and I learned French, and all I really did was surf. So I mean, it was awesome. Bought a motorcycle for the trip, went out, did that. It was great. So um, really fortunate in how all that went together. Came back, did a trip with Afghanistan with Bravo 310, amazing group of people on 322, and just phenomenal leadership, and that I think makes it when you're a senior Charlie, like I was at the time before I became Zulu, you find, like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to learn from these people, and that really helps. So did that, and then from there, uh, ended up going into anaphylactic shock for some reason that the medical science doesn't know. So I go into idiopathic anaphylaxis. So my body at any time can go into anaphylactic shock. So I take a
Holy
bunch of
shit.
pills yeah, it sucks. So I take a bunch of pills every day, and that was a big ego check because then I was never going to be able to be a team sergeant. Did pick up Zulu, but was never able to be a team sergeant because my life had to go a different path. So I got really smart on cold weather. I got really smart on taking care of our guys. Worked for Warrior Care Program, and built a retirement program for group.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, my sense of self had to be checked quick because no longer was I able to say, "Hey, cool, I'm out here, I'm running a gun, and I'm doing the job. I'm going to burn it down to the last day." It was, "Oh no, you've got to carry epinephrine pens, EpiPens everywhere you go. You got to have a meal like structure. What's going on with all your stuff?" It just became a thing.
Man,
So
and there was no nexus of it. There was no like one you can't pinpoint it to a certain situation. You just clicked on.
yeah, I was running in 2010, 11. So 10 and 11, we were in Iraq, and I'm doing all of the humid stuff for us to say it that way.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that, running the house, and eating a lot with the locals, doing all that stuff. And I think something there may have got me, to be honest, but I'm not too certain because what started as me having bubble guts and all that crap that you get from deploying and on
Yeah.
the meds, that turned into acute onset anaphylaxis to where I could be sleeping, driving, doing anything, and I would just drop.
Holy
So
shit.
yeah, that's what it kind of went from there, started and got worse. And yeah, so my path went a different way. And I'm not resentful for it because of the amazing things I got to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, it's a bummer. You look back now and it's like, no, I didn't do the typical, 18 Zulu Green Beret route, but I was able to do so much to contribute to the community. This is what led me to being where I am now.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy in some aspects that I have this different perspective, but there's always the game of what if,
Yeah.
and you're just going to play that forever.
Yeah. It's almost as if you had a mini shot of transition before you had your actual military
Oh yeah.
pivot.
Oh, absolutely, I did. Yeah, I mean, I went through it in a different way, and in some ways, it was really good because I'm able to just, hey, cool, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to get through it, and
Yeah.
this is my life. Another way, it was like, oh, this sucks because my dudes are going back for another trip.
Mm.
Like the documentary Retrograde. If you've not watched it, Retrograde highlights 10th group because we were the last ones
Yeah.
there, and one of my very close friends from my team, he was our junior Bravo. It turned out to be the 18 Zulu on that team, Mike. And it was tough because Mike goes in and you see it all, and you're like, I remember when you're brand new, 5 and 6, and now you're
Yeah.
crushing life. And it's like, damn, that could have been me, or would I have been, company sergeant major then? Because that's slow. I mean, when you can't deploy and you're all medical, your track to, 8 and 9 gets derailed a little bit. So it took some time to get back, but
Yeah.
very fortunate in the career I had, and that people in certain positions, like Lieutenant General Fran Burdett, believed in me enough, and I stayed on, and yeah, so I was
Yeah.
able to
Because
retire.
with something like that, immediately you start to have people circle around and they start saying, hey man, medical retirement. Like,
Mhm.
this is pretty severe.
Yeah.
But you had a will to continue going. Did anything else? Because you have to imagine this is rocking you at a physical level, and we always talk on this show, and I always advocate for it. It's mind, body, and spirit. Were the other domains healthy enough that you could lean on your family and lean on those other paths where it's like, okay, my body may be failing me right now, but I'm stronger. I can lean on these other pillars. Or were those also rocky during that time frame?
They were pretty strong. Unapologetically Christian, and to me, I was able
Yeah,
to. Yeah, I mean that's what I like to say. I think we need to have locust and honey energy. We need to come out of the woods like John the Baptist, just proclaiming.
yeah,
And we're too PC these days as Christians, so I'm unapologetically Christian, and that helped out a lot because I
yeah,
think if you put your faith in Christ and you can have a ground, I mean, you have that foundation set on stone or sand, and it just goes back to the Bible, and
man,
that for me helped out a lot. That kept me going. And then I'm the kind of guy who I also cuss like a sailor. So it was a fuck you, that's why. Fuck you, you're going to see what I can do kind of moment.
yeah,
And because everyone said, oh, you got to get out. They can't keep you.
yeah,
And Senator here in Colorado, Cory Gardner, who, funny enough, I was just on a plane next to him and going to DC to help the SMA with a suicide prevention event in September. I sat next to Cory and we're talking, and I'm like, you don't remember me, but let me tell you what happened. He's like, actually, I do remember that. This is the staffer who helped, and I'm going to call her right now and say, thank you, that you're thanking me.
yeah,
So it was really cool. But Senator Gardner, he wrote the letter. We got through, but I mean, it's that, watch this, let's go kind of mentality. And I'm a shorter guy. I'm 5'8". I'm not the biggest dude. So we had talked about this right before it started. That to me was a big thing. Like I know I can do this because
yeah.
I got greater things in me than in the world, and it just kind of propelled me forward. So mentally, at times it was rough. Though I'm a pretty optimistic individual, and I was able to just focus my mindset and my faith and say, "Now this is what we're doing now. Let's change mission. Let's go." Every now and then you catch yourself though with the whole could I, should I, would I. I have a friend of mine who's wildly successful in Windows of all things, and he's like, "Hey, I'll give you a branch. You'll make about 800,000 a year. You'll manage the branch. It's easy work. The guys are set. All you got to do is take over." I had made a commitment to be in the military for 20 years, and at that point, it's like, no, I'm staying in, and I did. I left that money on the table, but by doing that, I met my wife, my daughter, who's soon to be 4, and it's like, you know what? That was God's plan,
Yeah,
and really, really blessed to be where I am now.
absolutely. And I'm so glad it's a testament to those pillars, man. I was hoping you'd have that answer would be strong, resounding. Oh, hell yes. My mind and my spirit were still there with me. Body may be failing, but I have these three. And I look back at my journey. I didn't have all three. And
Yeah.
when the body went, because that's the one thing we cultivate, whether you're
Mhm.
special operations or in a paratrooper, physically fit. You got to be fit. And the
Mhm.
moment they take the body out, what are you going to rely on? And
Mhm.
if you were like me and you didn't have any of those pillars, fall apart. And
Yeah.
now
I
on the
mean,
backside, and sorry to cut you off, but it's like now
no, no,
seeing
no.
it on this side, when you do grow those pillars and you rebuild them and you make them strong, and you can look back and say, this is why I have to advocate for it. It makes us better men, better warriors when we have all three strong and resilient. So thank you for sharing that, man. So powerful.
Yeah, it's hokey to say, but the Ranger Creed's right on that. Physically fit, morally strong. Physically fit, morally strong, mentally straight, or mentally strong, morally straight. There we go. Class 1207. I ain't had to do that in a long time. Yeah, I got some Rangers out there, gonna string me up for that one that I know now. It's like, yeah,
They're
I just,
coming
I
for you.
just, I just fumbled that ball on the goal line. Yeah, yeah, it's all right. Yeah. Problem solved, problem staying solved, Rangers lead the way. From my favorite GI Joe little clips. That's right. Um, but no, it is. It's awesome though. The fact that you can, diversity is a great thing, and
Yeah.
falling and getting up is even better because it says, okay, I can do this. And I think if you find that faith, or if you find that mental fortitude, then that get up and go, that first step after you've fallen is just, it's huge.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, because your hard day is your hard day. We've all heard that, but it is true. And,
Yep.
I didn't have the best of childhoods and went through a lot when I grew up. So getting through this was kind of easy compared to that. And when you see, when you can look back with a clear head, even if it takes years, and say, hey, I went through that for a reason, or now I'm this person,
Yeah.
that matters a lot. And I think with what we do in, Green Beret land, as I like to call it, that's what you get a lot of. It's a
Yeah.
lot of adversity, it's a lot of struggle, and then you can get over that mountain, whatever it was you were climbing, and look back at that valley and be like, oh yeah, I'm up here now, and I'm moving, and I'm going. And it's a lot of up and down, but it's, to me, it's such a benefit. And the way that we're able to, as SF guys, and this whole Green Beret land thing, is we're able to like focus on each other, and then focus on ourselves and help one another. It's awesome, because I
Yeah.
think that's the second part of that is, yes, you're great. You did it. You got up. And through the grace of God, you can do these things and you're blessed for it. But if you have that one person, there being like, get the fuck up, or let me help you up, you know, you're going to be there for that next person. I think there was a post actually I saw on social media today that talked about, why are veterans in active duty so quick to pull each other down? And
Oh yeah.
we have this crabs in the bucket mentality.
Yep.
I think it comes from lack of self-awareness and in who we are, because when you lose your sense of self, you lose a part of yourself. So then you get angry at yourself because you're no longer who you think you are. You can't do those things. And then you turn that outward. And when you turn that outward, it's not anger or vitriol at the individual who you're seeing they're doing well. It's the, well, why am I not? And you're getting mad at
Yes.
yourself again, which goes back into faith to me, and goes back into just putting yourself, before Christ, and being like, hey, I'm nothing, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for loving me, and pulling yourself, you know, up to go to that next thing, which, whether you know it or not, if you're listening to this and you're not a Christian, hey, get right with Jesus. But Christ is always there for you to help you, pull you up those, hard times. I just
Yeah.
gotta say that.
No, it's absolutely true, man. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful the way when you finally, like, when I finally found my way back to church, it wasn't because I was truly believing. It's because at first it was, I need to pull this thread. I need to pull this thread and see what I'm missing. If I'm going to
Mhm,
advocate for all things that can help us, how is this going to be beneficial?
mhm,
And from the moment I went back, from the moment I started going back to church and made it part of my life, I have seen it work, but I've also seen the beauty of being challenged, because it's not about having the perfect, like, it's not like you go to church and your life's perfect. No, that's not the principle. Test your faith. See how, and this happened to me. I wanted something so bad. I wanted to have this thing, be able to have this family. And this is a complete real situation,
mhm,
there's a real, true, in-depth look into Denny's life right now. We tried having a child for a long time, and then we're back in church, and I'm constantly praying for it. I'm constantly focused on this thing that we wanted to have, this family we wanted to build. And in the meantime, we're paying thousands of dollars to go to fertility clinic, and it's
yeah.
exhausting, mentally, spiritually. It leaves you depleted. And then you get these updates. You sit down in front of the doctor and like, hey, it's not going to happen for you. It's just, everything's wrong in you and it won't happen for you. What are you going to do in that moment? Are you going to drive back home and rage at God and walk away from everything that you've now been instilling in your life? For 72 hours, I was bitter and I was angry,
Mhm,
but then I realized I came to my faith. I came to him already dealing with issues, already broken. And I got nothing but feeling lighter when I left church, feeling better, feeling more positive, being surrounded by the Word of God, doing
Hmm.
what I wanted to do on my Sundays, not every Sunday, but
Yeah.
but going there and realizing in those 72 hours, am I going to walk away from everything that I've learned, everything that I've been doing, or am I going to look at God and be able to pray the rosary today and say, you know what? This is not the answer that
Hmm.
I wanted. This is not the path that I wanted. But regardless of how I get to becoming a parent, I know it's going to be put in front of me in the right way. Whatever God wants it to be, I have to listen to his plan.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to have other individuals, other doctors that were willing to say, no, let's do something else. Dr. Mark Gordon came in and went through his supplementation program. And 6 months later, we're having a kid.
There you go.
And
Amen.
that's a reality of the strength of being able to sit down and say, you know what? It's not about the good days. It's not about praying for it constantly. It's not about the white picket fence at the end of the day. That's not life.
Hmm.
The reality is it's going to make you stronger, resolute in your faith, and it's going to give you the understanding of like you might not get what you want on Tuesday, but you continue on your path, you continue praying, and you know what?
Hmm.
In a few months from now, you'll realize what you really wanted wasn't that shiny thing. What you really needed was this other alternative that God put you through. And that's what I
Hmm.
realized in that moment. Looking back in my career, all the ways that I wish things would have panned out and all the ways that I wished and thought I really wanted my life to go would have never brought me to this moment. It would have never brought me here to what I'm doing right now.
Hmm.
And I say all that to say, trust in God's plan. I didn't want to at first, but then when I sat down and I realized that he got me through the worst, he got me through infinitely worse situations. He's gonna get me through this, and the
Yeah.
proof's in the pudding. Because when January 30th, my little one comes into this world, and it happened because of being willing to stay committed to my faith and understand that whatever I have planned doesn't it pales in comparison to what
Yeah.
he's got.
Yeah. And the start of that, when you go through those trials, you think of the song "It Is Well With My Soul," and the writer of that had lost children coming across a boat from England to America, and his daughters died on the trip. And he just had, he was a songwriter, so he wrote "It Is Well With My Soul," an old gospel hymn. And, it just goes back to leaning on God and saying, God, whatever your plan is, I'm there. And there are tragedies, there's horrible things that happen, but you have to stay in your faith. And it's very hard. Hard. I mean, my dad was dying when I was 12. I raised my sister from 12 on as a parent to her, and then found my dad dead because his heart just gave out. I was 19, and I was in school to be a nurse practitioner in pediatrics at the time. So I'm working on him, doing all those things, and he just didn't make it. He just didn't
Mhm.
make it too long. And then you look back now and you're like, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Yes, it was rough. Yes, I mean, my God, it was just terrible. But at the same time, that his story needed to end there because of what he had went through physically and how bad it was and all of his sad. Like it was really rough.
Yeah.
And to be able to be there for him and be there for my sister and then see where she is now. And I can't talk about it because she actually does a counterterrorism job. And she outranks me and does this really rad stuff. She does.
That's
Like
awesome.
we worked together on one mission. She had people in America. I had people in Iraq. It was so
No
cool.
way.
Yeah, we actually had one mission together. She had hit me up and she was like, "Hey, do you know these folk?" This was over Sipper, and I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going after these folk here." And she's like, "I got the brother over where I am," and I'm like, "Okay, cool. What do you want to know?" A little back and forth. Our guys aren't living. Her dude was bagged up. Where he's at now, don't know. But the turd's a turd, so they got the turd. And yeah, it was really cool. And
That's
you're like, hey,
awesome.
we all went through that together, and she and I have this amazing bond. It's just rad. So
It's badass, dude.
yeah, but you go back to it, it's like you had to be honed, we had to be
Yeah.
sharpened, we had to be like refined to be able to handle some other stuff that came up through life.
Yeah.
And I mean, my whole side here is a giant tattoo for her, and it says "one more day," and it's one more day until we see Jesus.
Yeah.
One day closer. We're one day closer to seeing our heavenly Father and our earthly Father, and we lean on that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome to be able to know. And yeah, this is preachy. You may not have thought this is where this one was going, But
I'm for it, man. I'm all
yeah,
for it, brother. It's one of those
yeah,
things where not enough people are talking about it, and
yeah.
I do believe that the most resilient warriors that I ever served with were guys that were strong in faith. And I'm not upset. Like I said before, my path
Mhm.
was my path. It led me
Yeah,
ultimately to where I'm at. It led me to an amazing
yeah.
Catholic woman who brought me back to the church.
Mhm.
And I understand that everything I went through, I needed to, because pressure makes diamonds. And that's what I realized about our guys. So many of us come from these backgrounds of just horrible, painful childhoods, and that adversity
Yeah.
breeds excellence. I mean, and it's not to sit here and glorify child
Mm.
abuse and the trauma we endured, but understanding
No.
that God had a plan,
Yeah.
and He saw us all the way through, and ultimately to the highest place we could go to, and then helps us understand that, like, hey, Green Beret land was great, but I got a higher
Yeah.
calling for you. I got a higher
Oh
mission
yeah.
for you. And
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing about it, is when you realize and you open up your eyes, because
Mhm.
everybody that pivots, every Green Beret, every SEAL, every Ranger that pivots has that moment of like, I'm no longer a warrior. I'm no longer
Yeah.
worthy. And it's like, dude, you got an even greater mission now. You
Yeah,
got
because
an,
bro, we were never worthy. We were never worthy. It was only through God's love, and that's where we are
yeah,
now. So it's like, hey, guess what? You're not cool, bro. You
yeah,
never were. But Christ gave you the ability to do these rad things and show His love. Coolest
yeah.
thing I ever did in the military. In 2010, we had Kirkuk, Iraq. We're there, and it was Jason Jam and some others. They were like, if you guys have Christmas, we're going to bomb the churches and all this stuff. So I did this toy drive with my team at the time, 312, who were just some rad dudes who helped out great, amazing people. I cannot say enough good things about them. We did this toy drive, clothes drive, food drive, money drive called
Mhm.
Christmas in Kirkuk. We're turning suicide bombers to sleigh bells, going from suicide bombers to sleigh bells. And we had this secret Christmas that we gave to everybody. And they were all sent to this church, and all these kids came, and it was done by our church because I didn't want an American presence there.
Yeah,
So we had these photos, and you got Muslims, Christians, other religions that are around there, weird KKA or something like that, so other
yeah.
weird like local religions. They're all just there getting love from Santa Claus. And they had toys, food, all these things. And Kirkuk can get cold in the wintertime. You'll get
Oh
snow and
yeah.
other things. So yeah, not as bad as Sulian or Beale, but it can get kind of cold. So it was great for the kids there to be able to have that. And it's like, we finish that, we do that, and then one of our interpreters looks at me and goes, "Oh, you're the team Christian. You're the Christian." And it's like, "Yes, I am. That is my job." And it was the most fulfilling thing I did in my 20 years. You do the cool stuff, whatever, but like that really mattered because it was like, for that night,
Yeah.
these kids are all sneaking into this Coptic church and they're all getting gifts and food, and the family's getting taken care of. And it's like, okay, rad. People in Southern Ohio who don't have a lot of money banded together with Kentucky and other places where I'm from. And they just sent and sent. And I've got pictures of it, of boxes out in front of my room going up, and they made an
Wow.
archway. The dudes did, because I was out and I come back and it's all there. And it was great. And we gave it all out, had a really beautiful time. And I think that's the cool part of Green Beret Land. You can do stuff like that. And it can matter. That actually,
Yeah.
yes, you can take out the bad guy. Yes, that's amazing. We need to do that. But sometimes when you're able to help out the kids, it goes a little further.
Absolutely, man. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize about our mission set as Green Berets. Like, it attracts people that want to do good. Even the
Mhm.
meanest, nastiest, most angry dude on a team has a soft spot for helping people. You want to be a Green Beret
Yeah,
because at your core, you're a person of service that wants to help those that are oppressed.
yeah. It's kind of in the title. It's kind of in the catchphrase for us, I mean, yeah, John
Yeah.
Wayne got it right. But yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you got guys I know I do who are just these, yeah, like true pimp hitters, like true knuckle
Yeah.
draggers. Old Sith Lord dudes from back in the day who who just come through. They, go from commanders in extremis force to the most caring, loving person, whether it's a team party or they're helping kids or they're seeing something. And that is the cool part
Yeah.
of SF, of Green Beret Land, as I like to call it, because it truly is. It's like, we're here for a reason.
Yeah.
We're here because we care. I mean, we got 7 things we're supposed to do great. And the eighth one to me is to be the glue. You know, you can come into a community and you can be that glue that unites people, brings them together. Next thing you know, they're doing things for our country. They're
Yeah.
building up a resistance force. They're doing clandestine operations. They're communicating. They're putting in networks. Okay, we're on the X. Okay, it's after X, and they still want to work with us. That can all come from that community we build. And they joke about it, you know,
Yeah.
in the Ranger, you know, go to Ranger school, you'll fight tigers, you know, all that stuff. They talk about what about
Yeah.
special forces, and they show the dude with a beard, but that's who we are. We're supposed to be the guy with the beard, working with the locals, doing the thing, having that moment that encourages those local communities to be like, okay, not all America's bad. Okay,
Yeah.
not all America's out for it. You know, we talked about, you know, God warriors, people who are devout in their faith and also devout in the job. That same guy who led the team in Afghanistan and during the film of Retrograde, just absolute on fire for God. Also, one of the scariest human beings on a target you would ever
Yeah.
see, like just doing it. But it's awesome to see that, you know, that play that goes both ways, that dichotomy to say of like someone's mindset and their faith and how it can come together. Had a mission with him and another guy who's very devout in his faith, and they were both on the same helicopter. And we're pulling off, and all of a sudden an RPG is coming at us, and the helicopter kind of dips, and the RPG goes right underneath of us at the last second. And we're like, okay, from now on, those guys are getting split up on two helicopters. We're going to make sure that we always have, you know, those two guys. The one is still in, the other guy is out. So Tommy was always on the other, and that guy was always on the other helicopter because we're like, hey, the Lord's on our side with these two. We're making sure. And yeah, it was pretty funny, but it's cool though because you can just see that, and you can see how people can rest, you know, their faith in the Lord and where it can go. It
Yeah.
also it helps in the bad times. It helps when you lose
Yes.
people. It helps when you have a bad mission or when things don't go or when there's problems at home and you're in country X and you can just put your faith somewhere. And you know, that's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a wild job, and it's an amazing opportunity and, you know, call that we have to join the
Yeah.
military. Period. And then when you go into different worlds, whether you're a SEAL and you get a publicist as soon as you graduate, buds, just joking, or you know you're in Ranger Bat and you know you're landing there on the airfield kicking in doors, or you're, you know, JSOC doing JSOC things and you're us doing us things. You know, it's awesome. And
Yeah.
I think it's really cool that you can find your way within those worlds and communities, um, and you can come out with God's help. You can come out a better person. I think you
Yeah.
truly can. I think in some ways you need that faith because some of the job that we do gets real heavy real fast, and then you
Yeah.
start questioning yourself, and you need that. You need that
It,
faith.
absolutely. One of the things that I found really absolutely tricky was navigating having to surrender control. We want to influence and have like our fingers or our hand tightly wrapped around every variable, and damn it if we can't control something, if we can't
Mhm.
make it do what we want it to do. But the thing about faith is just that you have to give up the idea that you're in control, that
Yeah,
you have this problem that you can solve, and maybe it's not you that you have to worry about solving. Maybe it's just being able to surrender and pray. Like
yeah,
prayer
that's
is
it.
one of the most powerful things that I've discovered, and it was because of mindfulness. It was because of mindfulness and meditation that
Hmm.
I pulled the thread. Like it's the same thing. If I'm sitting here praying, if I'm
Hmm.
doing the rosary or sitting
Hmm.
here focusing on the breath, I'm getting the same thing. Why not pray the rosary? Or maybe do two. Maybe sit down, do a mindfulness session, and then before you start work, do the rosary. And I think a lot of our guys have a big problem with surrendering and letting go of that control.
Because it's ego, and ego is edging God out, and that's the
Yeah.
problem with it. And I've been doing yoga and meditation for about 18, 19 years now. And I found that to be a benefit for me. I had an ex-girlfriend. It didn't work out with her, but hey, I kept the yoga and meditation. And thanks for it. You know who you are, and you're still a yoga instructor. And God bless you for getting me on that. But
Yeah.
yeah, my goodness. Yeah, the surrender piece to me, um, I'll just say that is your ego. That absolutely is
Yeah.
your ego saying, I can handle this. I've got this when you ain't got jack, dude. You want to see what you got? Go read Job. Go read Job, figure that out, see what Job went through, and then say that
Oh
you got it.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean seriously,
Yeah.
and that's what you got to do. I bring Job up because that's what my dad, who was going through a lot with his heart, he kept reading
Yeah.
Job, praying on it, and that's like, hey, yeah, I wasn't there when he hung the stars. I wasn't there when he put down every grain of sand, but I'm just going to trust and have my faith in God.
Mhm.
And it was cool to see that through my dad. But yeah, with our job, oh yeah, I mean, we're in the military. We're supposed to be able to follow orders. Nah,
Yeah.
man, we don't want that at all. We want to be like, all right, cool. How far is my left and right? And if I go to the edge of the left, is there anything past it, or is
Yeah.
that the edge? Because we're going to find it. Um, which is also kind of funny for people in the military to be so counter rank and so counter, like military. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's also the best part of it. We're really, really good the basics in ourselves. We're really good at the basics. We're really good at shooting and making sure that CMS is right. I was reading the range safety brief beforehand.
Yeah.
I was doing demo the right way, the same way. But when it's time to go outside of the lines, our basics, are set. And then, yeah, good luck. We're just going to be
Yeah.
there. We on one deployment, we had a standing rule: when a grenade went off, we'd all over the radio go, "Ha ha!" if we're ever through it. I don't think that's standard, but there were times in some firefights. I'm on an SO position. Hand to God, I'm on an SO position, and I'm looking down at everybody. My buddy, who's still in, is over top of me, screaming, "Get some!" Shooting some guys, and all of a sudden we hear, "Ha ha ha ha!" And then poof, 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 we see these grenades go off, and it's like, that's not standard. That's not what's supposed to happen. But our basics were good. We knew what we were doing, and at that point, yeah, there went some grenades. Haha.
Yeah.
And
That's
as
thoroughly entertaining.
oh, it's so awesome because I mean, like once again, 5'8". I've got my rifle. I'm like this. I'm climbing up little hills, and all this stuff, and I'm like a hobbit, so I can just go up everything. So I'm climbing up this hill. I get set in. My buddy's there with me. We're in this position. It starts popping off. He gets up. He's engaging. I'm doing from the ground with the gun, and all of a sudden over the radio, it's what you hear. And you just stop for a second. You just laugh like, oh, it's so awesome, But it's a good time when you can hear some ha-has.
Yeah.
If you're out there and you get into a tick and that's something you get to do, yeah, say ha-ha. Make that the SOP. It makes it so much more fun when you hear that because you're like, oh, someone's getting it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, yeah. Once again, it's, dude, the job we got to do, the job we
Yeah.
got to do. Now it's not our life. It was a season. It was a job.
Exactly.
It's a blessing. Yes, I'll always be a Green Beret, all that good stuff. But yeah, it's not me. I think that's one thing to talk about this side of it is, who
Yeah.
are you when you're no longer you?
Yes.
Because that's what we focus on is, oh, I did.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? What's next? Because I'll be 42 this Christmas. I don't want my life to end now that I'm no longer a Green Beret. Like, I want another 42 years at least of living,
Yeah.
serving, praising God, and making it better than I found it for my kid. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we got to do that. In in our ranks, I know Gil's doing a great job, General Ferguson, with that. With what he wants to do in First SFC and beyond. I know that there are people out there. Like 10th group, that's all I can speak of because that's where I
Yeah.
was. But we had one of yours for a while who was doing a great job, Kevin Trujillo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I hit you guys, and I cussed him out when I heard he went
Yeah.
back to 7th to take command. I was
Kevin
like,
is
what?
a
Yeah,
remarkable man. I had
yes, he is.
it's everybody that ever meets him. It's a weird effect. Kevin is not the tallest individual, but when you meet him, I swear, like if they were like, "Hey, draw Kevin," you draw him taller than you are. It's the command presence that he has.
Oh, absolutely.
A remarkable. And you rarely have those moments with senior leaders that they actually remember who you are. Like I've had a lot of group commanders, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, good dudes. Kevin, great fucking dude.
He never
Great
left being
fucking
an
dude.
18 alpha. He never left
Yeah.
the team in that mindset. He was
Yeah.
always a team leader, no matter the rank, the bird, the star, God willing, the 4
Yeah.
stars, whatever else he gets, and people like him. They never leave that what was it to be
Yeah.
a team leader mentality, because that's echelons up, for people
Yeah.
who don't know, from being an 18 alpha on an ODA as a captain, as a mid to senior captain, up to being a group commander, that is such thin air. And then for him, where he can go is the whatever.
Yeah.
He has no ceiling. He has no limit. Um, but for people like that, it's
Yeah.
impactful because like you said, he remembers you. He commands that presence. And with what he did at 10th Group, Second Battalion, we got great battalion and group leaders. He just, to me, he's one of the people that, him, Bill Ferguson.
Hmm.
There's people that stand out. There's a CCWO for 10th Group now. CWF5 Jerry Brown, same thing. Chief Brown's one of those kind of people.
Yeah.
CSM Ted Munter. Ted
Oh,
Munter.
Ted's awesome.
Ted's my
Ted's
SF
awesome.
dad. So when I got to 110, he was on. I went to 2-4. He was 2-1's team leader or team sergeant. Him and Chris Young and their team, they were the team. They were the pipe hitters. They were the team. And I was like, I want to be like that guy. And I strapped my wagon to Ted so many times that when I came back from DLI that I had spoke about, Ted's like, you're coming with us to Afghanistan. I was supposed to go to 4th Battalion and do the whole JED and D5, do a lot of stuff. And he's like, no, you're coming with me. And since then, I just actually called him 2 days ago to check up on him.
No way.
Yeah, I absolutely love Ted Munter. But he's one of those leaders, I know there's people like that in all the groups.
Yeah.
But you get people like Ted, Gil, Kevin, Chief Brown. There are people that, just have that impact. And, I'll say this, those are the dudes that need to stay in. And I see some of those dudes getting out. And that becomes heartbreaking as a guy who retired, had the medical stuff, retired out at 20. And, you see those guys and you're like, you better stay in, for the regiment. You better stay in for that young 18 Echo who's brand new to group, who came in as an X-ray and can't spell SF. He needs to know what it is to, that's the best insult I ever heard. I had a dude, it was Jim Lynch from Lynch's Lane, who was a SWIC instructor and this horrible guy. He's my first team sergeant. Just motherfuckers, but he insulted one new guy one day and said, bitch, you can't spell SF. And ever since then, I've used it. So, Jim, if you're out there, thank you for that. But no, that's what we're supposed to do. We got to find those guys that can hold up the regiment and really push it forward. Now, I will say for those guys, too, there's a faith there. There's a foundation in other things. There's, a belief. And I think that is also what keeps them so grounded and such a good leader.
Yeah.
Because they can see themselves in the young, and they can also see how to be a servant leader, because we talk about that in the military, servant leadership and all this. But a lot of it to me is dismissive. People,
it's become a buzzword now. It's become something that people just throw on LinkedIn.
Yeah, servant leader. Like, guess what? You shouldn't say you're a fucking servant leader. People should say that about you.
Bingo.
Yeah. The Ted Munters, who in 2007 in November lost a person on his ODA, gets back, and then in December is in the gym because he had to come back for surgeries, and he's in the gym doing curls, trying to get strong again to go back to the fight, to be back with his team. That's what you look for. The fact that every November 10th, he and the people from that ODA get together and still contact or stay together to honor the person who died in 2007.
Yeah.
That's the leadership, and that's what Ted keeps. Ted, the number 2 in my nonprofit, Bo, they were on that team together. Other people from that team have gone on to do great things for this country. That's what I love seeing, because it's like, hey, you know what? I'm never going to forget you guys. I'm never going to not be there. There were times he'd call, Chad, what's going on at 10th Group? Chad, how are you doing? And it was not because I'm anything special, because I'm not. I mean, but the fact that he would do that for folk and be like, hey, I want to know what can we do to be better? That's amazing, because he doesn't have to do that. I mean, he was the head chimp in the tribe at the time, the first SFC CSM.
Big Dad.
Exactly.
Doesn't get any higher.
And that's where he was. And it's like, to take time to do that, I mean, that means so much. So, for people like Kevin, Gil, Ted, and there's scores of them. Big Dave, another fella, he has a twin brother, and they're giant human beings. It's funny to see those two together. But for stuff like that, it's awesome, because it's like, yep, that's what we need. And we need to keep those guys in the regiment, where we need to find, we need to find the next crop and make sure that they are sharpened and honed and ready.
And that's what it is too. It's being able to influence the next great generation, because everybody has to find their way to have their last dance. You know, Kevin's not going to be around forever. Ted
No.
already blessed us
Yeah.
and sailed away, and
Yeah.
we have to realize it's when we pivot out of the military, when we find our next calling,
Hmm.
we can still influence the next great
Oh yeah.
leaders. Mentorship is something that I've like always advocated since I started this program, but now more than ever, like you don't know who's going to reach out to you. And here's the most beautiful and bizarre thing. Of all places, somebody found me on TikTok and then
Hmm.
messages me, "Hey, I really like your show. How did you remain so positive and advocate for becoming a Green Beret?" And I'm like, "Well, I wasn't always like this. You're
Hmm.
seeing like the benefit of doing all these healing modalities.
Yeah.
And I'm here talking to this young kid that he's not even in the military, wants to come in and he wants to go 18X." And I realized, like, holy cow, you still have an impact on the regiment. You
Hmm.
still have the ability to help somebody get in and replenish the forces. And that's when it's like, wow, like it really does matter what we do on the outside. It really does matter that we find a career, find a calling that keeps us engaged and happy and not bitter and resentful about what we did. Because
Hmm.
I'd like to think that there's a lot of guys out there that are very angry and they don't promote, and it's primarily due what's they're doing on the outside. Like, what are you engaged with that keeps you so freaking angry? Did you go into the right calling? Did you go into the right profession? Because let me tell you, there's a lot of bad things that I've endured through my career, but I only talk about a lot of the positives these days.
Hmm. Yeah, because we all carry bullshit. We all
Yeah,
have trauma. We all have it. Guess what? Yours isn't different than mine, because we all have it. It may be a different flavor, but it's all coming from the same place. Guess what? Trust your faith. Put your faith in God. Trust, that Christ is going to take care of it, and just go forward and see what happens.
no,
Um, you talk about jobs for a minute. That's an interesting thing because I don't think it's the job. I think it's the dudes. And I think you got to find the people that you want to surround yourself with.
mm,
And you've got to keep that tribe because you're always, once you retire, you're
yeah,
chasing the dragon. For the rest of
yep,
your life, you're going to chase that dragon of the ha-has or the firefights or the this and that.
yeah,
Because Dr. Dan Pearl, who's the head at Yeshua's Brain Center, I had him at the 10th group. Kevin had him down the 7th group first, is where I got the idea. Thank you again, Colonel Trujillo. Um, that's where, or is he is he Brigadier General Trujillo yet? I don't know, but
yeah,
with
yeah,
Kevin, that's where I got the idea from. We brought Dr. Pearl out, and he talked about that you chase that, amygdala response, you chase that
yeah,
brain goo, because it really is what it is. You get all these heightened levels of, like fight or flight and all this stuff, and you're living on, I was living on Red Man Golden Blend, White Monsters. Oh yeah, tons of Gold
yeah,
Blend, tons of Red Man, White Monsters, and a lot of Rage in the gym. And that was
yeah,
it when I was deployed, and it was awesome. But that's not sustainable. And
yeah.
when you get out, you got to realize, okay, those were cool things. It was great, but it wasn't the job you're missing. It's the dude you were with. So don't chase the job. Find the
Yeah.
people, and you can dig a ditch. Like when I
You're
retired, I
surrounded
gave
by
my.
people you like. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like when I retired, I gave myself 6 months before I found a job or did anything. I gave myself six full months
Good.
to breathe out and say, okay, what am I doing now? And I was helping with stuff, and then I have the nonprofit. So we were doing that. But by giving myself that time, I gave myself, and I had a different career path, but I gave myself more space
Yeah.
to, excuse me, to be myself and to breathe and to be like, okay, cool. Who's Chad? All right, Chad is this, Chad's that. I can work through that. And I'm still, I mean, it's not like it's over. I'm still like discovering things all the time. I don't listen for shit to my wife, and I need to do better with that. And I'm distracted easily, and I was blown up a bunch. So like my short-term memory sucks,
Yeah.
which isn't great when she's calling me out for shit because she's usually right, and I can't remember a damn thing. But I tell her, hey,
Whiteboards. Use
bro,
whiteboards.
I finally broke her down. We've got a big one on the garage, on the kitchen. I've got a big one in my office back here that
Yeah.
takes up like a chunk of the wall. Reminders all day long, and that works out pretty well. And so does her just telling me, "Hey, you're being dumb right now," because then I can be like, "Okay, thanks." which I mean, honestly, I appreciate, like, yo, hey, am I being an asshole? Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll change. But no, I think you find those dudes. I got a job now. I'm the director of military operations for Spartan Race.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I bring all the people together for Spartan Race. We do all those things. And with Spartan Race, what we're doing, is we're talking with the Pentagon and with USAREC and other people about finding a place where people can come as their tribe. So if you're in the
Yes.
military, Spartan in 25 is getting a lot more military centered, to where people who are in can come and work out, try it, keep going, and just be like, damn, that's awesome. Like, I
That's
love doing
badass.
that. Yeah, because it keeps people in shape, it keeps them talking, it gets them dirty, and they look forward to the next thing, or they build their own pocket communities and they go and do rucks or they do
Yeah.
runs. A group of people I know just climbed Kilimanjaro. Mike and a crew went up Kilimanjaro just because they wanted that camaraderie.
Yeah.
Awesome. So to me, that's one thing we're doing at Spartan that's been a lot of fun, is being able to invigor people's drive to be like, get the fuck off the couch, get
Yeah.
yourself in shape, be together. Um, and you know, it's pretty amazing to see what's going to happen there and what's already. I gave out like
Yeah.
this year. I gave out close to 8,000 free tickets to military members and their families to go and
What?
participate. We'll do the same next year, and that's really cool because those folk and their kids got to experience something together. And if mom and dad's in the military, they don't get a lot of that.
Yeah.
Very rarely do you bring your kid to work day and you do what you usually
Yeah.
can't. But when you can do like an obstacle course together, get muddy and dirty, it goes really, it's really cool.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Justin, he takes his boys and they do all these long distance competition runs and Spartan races and all this. And it's awesome to see because Stokes is able to take his kids out there and they just crush it. And they get to
Yeah.
see dad crush it too because Justin's in amazing shape. Um, so he keeps that up, since retiring. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool place to find a tribe, and you can do it um, paying to do obstacles. But
Hell yeah.
if you're in or you're retired, yeah, we kind of cover the cost. That's something
That's
that
badass.
yeah, it's something Joe put together and I'm doing. So I'm really blessed to have that.
Yeah. And tell us about 50 for the Fallen, because this is something that what you guys are providing is something I just got done talking with another individual that there's a huge space for, and there's a necessity for it when it comes to getting
Yeah.
individuals access to care.
Mhm. So 50 for the Fallen, I take people on very long walks. I make them talk. No one wins, no one loses. If you try to win, you're kicked out because you're running against yourself, bro. You're off on your own, rucking to the front. Like, I'm gonna do this. Like, where's
Yeah.
everyone? They're not beside you, bro. You lost your tribe.
Yeah.
So we keep them together. We have people do 50-mile ish, sometimes more, sometimes less rucks. You don't have to carry anything. Like I said, we carry our own emotional weight, so you don't have to bring a
Mm,
thing on you. But we do it in 18 hours, so you have a force time, a distance, and it's trauma bond is what it is.
yeah.
Because during that time, you're beat up, you're destroyed, and you're going to look to one another. And I mean, if people don't realize it, they do now. I weave my faith into everything we do. We pray before, during, and after. And then I got a friend of mine, Adrian, who leads us in prayer every time, before and after. And then during, we're talking about it. And it's amazing because people around mile 32 to 7, you can set your clock by it. In that 5 mile window, everyone gets tired and breaks down.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, they're opening it up, they're talking. And then those that need it, we get into the therapy they need. We'll take them to Resiliency Brain Health in Capel, Texas. We go to Do Good Ranch here in Colorado. Um, we're open to other locations. I don't care where I send you as long as you get the care you need. I just know the care at Resiliency Brain Health is second to none. A friend of mine who passed, Chris, was part of Coast to Coast, and they would send people down to Resiliency Brain Health, and that's how I first heard about it. And he was in JSOC and was doing that job.
Mhm.
Started at 10th, but seeing it there, the guy who helped me start 50, Darren Behealer, call him Bo. Um, Bo, same thing. He went there, changed his life, and he's like, Chad, this is where we're sending people. And I was like, yeah, if that's where you say you went there, you experienced it. I mean, yes, it's anecdotal, it's one place, but we've
Yeah.
sent numerous people now, and they've all had positive effects afterward. They've all said, without this,
Yep.
when they were wrong, it was without Jesus Christ, you suckers, but you're saying it's the wrong way, but I'll let you have it for now because I'll get you to God later. But um, that's one thing that we see at Resiliency Brain Health is people come out of that 2 weeks and they, one, can understand what's going on with their head. And two, they were given the treatment they need. And three, they're given a pathway back to be like, hey, cool, it's okay. We're going to get you there. Here's this. They keep with them, they stick with them. And they're doing all the neural pathway stuff. They put them in the pod, spin them upside down, all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I hope to go in 25 myself. I was 10th Gear's master breacher for a while, had a like
Oh
bomb
yeah.
job. So yeah, ate some charges. Um, but I'll go there myself. I'll experience it and I'll be better for it. But it's amazing to be able to send people to these places and
Yeah.
to do these walks and to see people change. We're going to Oahu December 7, 8 coming up. We're doing that here in 2 weeks. I fly in 2 weeks to head out to Oahu and we'll do a 52 and a halfer. We're going to do the Honolulu Marathon twice.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah, we're going to do, we'll start on the 7th with a parade of Waikiki for Pearl Harbor. And then from there, we'll move in and then we'll start the marathon. We'll do the marathon and then we'll finish up. The goal for that fundraising trip's about at least 10K. I say about because I want more, but 10K at the least, because it's between $8,500 and $12,500 a person to go to Resiliency Brain Health. We pay for the flight, the lodging, the treatment, the IV therapies, whatever else you need. So each event, I'm trying to cover at least one person to go to these, different locations
Yeah.
to get therapy. But that's what RBH, it's just what it costs to get this care. I'm all for sending. So
Yep.
for the event coming up, that's our goal. We're working with some amazing sponsors to help that be a reality. But I'm just blessed, man. Like,
Yeah.
you can say all the, stuff you want, but I came from a very poor town in Southern Ohio and we were not well off at all. We were very poor. So it's like to be where I am now, to have the financial, you know, wherewithal, and we're blessed with how we are now and with what I do, to be able to do this is like, you're supposed to. Once again, we got
Yep.
into SF for a reason. We stayed in SF for a reason. We retired from SF for a reason, but not the, that's not the job that we did it for. We did it for the service. Like you said, we did
Yep.
it for the oppressed. And oppression's it's an interesting word. It doesn't have to be someone putting their thumb over you in some like force. It could be an addiction. It could
Mm-hmm.
be the fucking devil. It could be anything. And you're like, hey, I'm here to help you, man. I'm here to get you where you need to go.
Yep.
And that's the good thing with 50 is we'll take people out there and we'll do these long walks. We did one that took us 19 hours and 28 minutes to do the 50. It was in Indianapolis, and we had people who didn't want to quit. And I looked at them all around mile 40, and I said, I'm in this with you to the end. No one is quitting. No one is stopping. We are going to finish this, and I don't care the time. It took us an extra hour and 28 minutes, but everyone sprinted it in at the end because I make everyone do it.
Nice.
So at the end, we all
Nice.
sprint. You had a guy on, Brian Peters,
Yeah.
wildly awesome human being. Brian has done a couple of my events. So we're in DC, the
Nice.
first event he did with Laura and Laura's dog. And we are on the bridge going into Arlington. And I did a speech before we go, because as you can tell, I don't shut up. But I did a speech going across the bridge before we got on the bridge. And then I had a moment of silence as we crossed the bridge. About halfway, 2/3 across the bridge, I just turned around and screamed at everyone, all right, let's fucking go. Let's sprint it in. Because I wanted our guys who were there waiting on us in Arlington, who are buried there, to know we're coming for them to see them.
Yeah.
So we all just took off like a shot. And it was the dumbest thing I did because I didn't judge the space and the distance. And the next thing I know, we got the drum beat music and we're going, dun. And we're running. Like, we're not getting there yet. It's like, oh God, I started this way too early. And it fucking sucked because we're sprinting for like an extra quarter mile running in, and the guards are like, what the? And they knew we were coming, but we got there, we're like, ah, and we all just dropped. It took us a good 10 minutes of getting
Oh.
ourselves right to go in to pay the respects that, our brothers and sisters, deserve. But damn, I fucked that one up on the
Uh,
distance, man. Like, I should have started at the end of the bridge, not
yeah.
halfway or so through.
Yeah.
Um, but it was a lot of fun. Brian was a part of that one.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
yeah, I was overzealous, man. That one hurt.
That's
But it
good
was
though.
fun.
As Brian
Yeah.
would say, you're conditioning your body for better breathing performance.
Oh yeah, that was a really big one for that.
Oh,
He did a Wahoo with us, and that he was invaluable on a Wahoo.
yeah,
I had some friends of mine out there who were, they were congresswomen or famous people, X or whatever, and they're out there doing it. And they're all listening to Brian and some of our docs, our 18 Deltas, who, if you don't know what an 18 Delta is, look up an 18 Delta and realize they do so much more. These guys
yeah.
they're amazing. Um, and they were out there taking care of folk. So I got the 18 Deltas out there. I got Brian out there. He's leading mobility clinics and breathing clinics during the ruck because every 10 miles we stop.
Yeah.
We provide the food, the water, the foot care, the med care. I take out all the excuses. It's like, cool. You don't, I can't carry all that food. Great. I got it. What about my water? I've got it. What
Got
about
it.
this? I've got it. You know, and Brian was out there helping us. It was just so awesome to have him out there. One of my friends she was a congresswoman. Her name's Tulsi Gabbard, and Tulsi was out there, and Brian is working with her and her sister.
Yeah.
And her sister's more of a badass than Tulsi. She's a tough chick. And Brian's working through some mobility at mile 30, mile 40. He's working on him, and then they sprinted it in. This time I got the distance right,
Yeah.
and we sprinted it into Pearl Harbor to be there the morning of December 7th. And it was cool. We got there about 15, 20 minutes later after we got there. All the Pearl Harbor veterans got in there, the
Oh
survivors.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had this meeting of like these two generations that got to like hang. But Brian was a big part of that event. It was awesome to have him. Awesome to have him
That's
anytime he's
awesome.
around. He's a
Yeah.
great
It,
person.
he's awesome, man. And yeah, the amount of performance knowledge that he brings, I mean, that honestly, like I'm trying to bring him out to do a full on session with a group of individuals. I got some big stuff working for the summer, and I'm trying to get Brian out there because it can apply to anybody. And yes, I want it for our guys are still in because it's vital for them. But on the backside, understanding that you can still get all this because, dude, this. The moment you get out, it gets really easy to just sit on the couch, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to combat that. And his ability to speak to our type of guys is just
Yeah,
phenomenal.
without a doubt, because he's done it on. His story is amazing. Coming
Yeah,
out of Northwestern with his degree, playing arena ball, Canada ball, playing in the NFL, doing it all, finding his way. Because
yeah,
hardly anyone leaves the NFL like Michael Strahan did.
right.
Strahan won the Super Bowl, left. He
Yep,
could have stayed for another year, but he left. And you don't get that a lot. So,
yeah,
um, and you don't get that a lot in SF land either, where it's like after the big mission, oh, we did this, I'm this, and now I'm out.
yeah,
There's, it just doesn't happen. So for Brian to have that mindset and be able to relate to our guys, it's invaluable. And
yeah.
if you know, listen to your podcast with Brian. Once again, rad dude. If you don't know who Brian Peters is, go listen to the podcast here that Denny's got. Go check him out. Go to one of his clinics. He
Yes.
is absolutely he's helping heal people in a different way
Yep.
just with breathing and being able to take your body and go ah,
Yeah.
and like let it out, because we can't do that half the time. Even when like I started doing yoga, you try to out muscle it, or
Yeah.
you're trying to out muscle the meditation, which is the silliest thing on earth, but it's true.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a certified mindfulness coach, and the amount of times I've worked with soft clients of like, I'm gonna show you I can do this. I'm like, wrong attitude, dude. You're not trying to breach mindfulness.
Yeah, we're just going to sit here in Shavasana for 30 minutes then, and you're going to just freak out in dead man pose. Congratulations. Be
My
prepared to
favorite.
freak.
Yeah, my favorite is like, we've been doing this for hours, haven't we? It's 2 minutes.
It's yeah. Yeah. When I did the warrior care job, I was dealing with all of our guys who were injured, and it was during
Yeah.
a tough time. A lot of guys were getting banged up, and I found myself going to sensory deprivation tanks for that, to give myself
Yeah.
that time to just be like, hey, guess what? Go zone out, get right with God, and
Yep.
just let the distractions go. And to me, that would help a lot. And then I'd bring a yoga mat with me. I talked about CW5 Jerry Brown. Everywhere Chief Brown goes, he brings his yoga mat.
Yep.
And this was a guy who used to be this like huge yoked dude who
Yeah.
just looked intimidating. And then he found his way into meditation, yoga, and he found his way into still being this scary individual who has this, zeal for life now,
Yeah.
while he's in the service and as he, whenever he decides to retire. I think Chief Brown's one of the guys who will go on to do whatever he wants, kind of like Kevin. If those two
Yeah.
guys ended up together at first SFC, we'd be a better regiment.
Yeah. And that's it. That's the beauty of like really cultivating that warrior mindset. You're constantly evolving, constantly growing and adapting and understanding that if you're judging something because it's hippie shit, like you're a very amateur observer. Be a better
Yeah.
observer. Look for the things that can enhance your life because
Hmm.
oftentimes those soft skills are actually they're huge and they provide so many benefits for your life. Like the
Hmm.
breathing, yoga, these things aren't just out there for hippies to use. It's for everybody.
Hmm.
They'll make you a better, capable warrior. So embrace
Yeah.
them. Embrace all
Yeah.
aspects of that.
Yeah. You can find it in the Bible. Christ said, be still and know that I am the Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find it there even. It's said in the Bible to just at times be still. It's
Yeah.
okay. Take that moment. And we do that with 50 to wind back to it. You know, we take those moments, we have those conversations. Um, it's going to hurt. It's going to suck. No one, I mean,
Yeah.
you got to think, not many people go out and say, I'm going to do a 50-mile ruck march overnight in whatever the weather condition. But you come out of it when the sun rises a better person and you're able to say, you know what, okay, I saw that in myself. I let it go. A friend of mine did one of these. It took him 3 of these. So he walked 150 miles to talk about a friend who committed suicide.
Wow.
And yeah, it's pretty impactful to see that. The first one of these I did my first one by myself. I was out here as May of 2020. All the crap was going on that was, and I just said, I need to go for a walk. One of my favorite movies is Cool Hand Luke. He eats 50 eggs. So I thought I'll do 50 miles. That's where the math came from. There's no magic to it. It was Cool Hand Luke. Paul Newman ate 50 eggs. And I'm like, I'm going to do 50 miles. Um,
It would have been
and
way
that's,
cooler if you're like, I ate the 50 eggs and then I
yeah,
threw up
oh
violently
God.
for hours
Exactly. Yeah.
and had to
Uh,
walk.
and then had to walk. So actually, a buddy of mine saw that. Uncle Timmy Payon, he's still in. Uncle Timmy saw that. I'm at a place in Germany that does this American style steakhouse, and they had this like 2 kilo steak and then like a kilo or so of potatoes. And I ate it all like this pig I am. Because I'm like, I'm not going to leave it on the plate. And then at the end of it, I get a picture with a pint of Chunky Monkey I powered down afterwards, thinking, oh, I'm Johnny. Oh, look at me now. I'm man versus food. Then I throw up violently in the toilet and I cancel my night because he's like, you got to come out now. You got to come out. And I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm done for
I'm
days now. Like,
dying.
yeah, yeah, I'm dying. Yeah, my endocrine system is just throat punching me. But
Oh,
yeah, no, I mean, it's rad. You take these guys on these walks, you do these things, they're able to find out a little more themselves, or it cracks something open. When I did the first one, I did a buddy of mine who died. I just kept screaming his name every time. I was going up this hill, and every time my foot hit the ground, kind of like a ruck march shit, but I was
yeah.
like just screaming his name. I got to the top and I broke down, and it messed me up. And then it opened me up, and I'm like, oh, there's some magic here
Yeah.
more than
There's
just
something in
walking.
there. Yeah.
And we did the first one official, um, thanks to Troy Biancone and Ryan McCann, who helped me put the first one on with Duncan Butler and Darren Beheeler. We're in um, we're in New York City, and thanks to Donovan and Dana Santos, Donovan was the head of strength coach for the Yankees at the time. Dana, she's the head of she's Aaron Judge's personal, and then she also is the head of the Tampa Bay Rays. So
Wow.
thanks to the Santoses, I'm able to go up there, um, and I start on the field with everybody. We got like 60 some people, and we go through the ghetto. Um, we go with the cops. The gangbangers loved us. The cops loved us. We go through. We getting drunk at firehouses. We're walking through all the fun stuff. Yeah, all that stuff. But we get across the Brooklyn Bridge, and we're kind of on mile 40. And people get quiet, and they start talking about who they're missing, what's going on, how it's affecting them. And it was the magic moment for those folk because they're like, shit, yeah, I needed this, man. I miss this person, or this sucks, or this is tough. And this was in 2021. So we had just shut down Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And like, you talk about unfinished business and getting after it again.
Oh, yeah.
How many people could, wanted to go back for one more rip to get after it? And it's like, well, now that's gone. and we talked about that, and it was some deep water we were swimming in. We finished that morning, and then we went to the America's Responders Memorial, Responders Memorial, where the horse soldier statue
Yep.
there next to, and my buddy John, who at the time was in the Joint Counterterrorism Task Force in Manhattan, he's like, "Hey, I got you guys in. Let's go on in." So we were the only people allowed to go there, and we're sitting there, and then one of the guys from Triple Nickel was there, and another dude, and it was awesome because we're there, we're paying our respects, we lay a wreath, and we have a moment of silence there. And I didn't put anyone down. I could have went to Ground Zero. It's not my place.
Yeah.
I wasn't affected there. That's for people who were there and had people that were lost that day. I now have a friend who was in the first. He was in the 30th floor of Tower One when it went down, and I've talked a lot to John about that and what that means to him, Ground Zero, because he spent 18 months helping clear the rubble. But we were up there. The horse soldier. Where I was going with that was, we had our moment. It was amazing, and then it turned fun because about an hour or two later, General Braga was set to show up and lay the first wreath and be the first one up there and do all this. And he's like coming up there, and he's like, "Who the fuck?" Because we had the wreath already laid and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because John's buddies were telling me that he was, kind of like, who the hell was already up here? But we had our moment there. Then it's kind of just exploded where we taking these all over, and at first it was it was at the grace of the military helping me put
Hmm.
these on, and generous donors. And then in 23 we turned it into an official nonprofit, and since then, it's just been full go. We did 8 events in 2023. So we had 8 50-milers in 2023, and then this year we scaled it back some and did smaller, more targeted events, worked with other people. um, but it's been great. We did in 23 for the salute to service game for the Packers. I took World War II veterans to now onto the field,
Oh,
and
wow.
had it was awesome. Had about 100 of them out there. And then the World War II, we had 2 guys, and then we had Korean and Vietnam vets. The World War II guys, I bring them because they had their ticker tape parade. They had their
Yeah.
thank you. They kissed the girl
Yeah.
in Times Square
Yeah.
and all that. Korea and Vietnam didn't get that. That was tough.
Yep.
So for Korea and Vietnam, they had 80,000 people cheering for him, chanting USA, doing all this stuff, and those guys just didn't know what to do. And it was awesome. It
Yeah.
was just so great because, I mean, even after Vietnam, America kind of corrected course, thank God, and understood that the people in the military are doing a job for the country. And sometimes they may not understand or agree, but it's their
Yep.
job. They're going to do it, and they're going to defend this nation. And we got back to thanking people. We did that in Desert Storm, Desert Shield, which was great. Those guys were there too, but the guys who deserved that were our the World War II always does, just because they were badass motherfuckers for what they went through. But Korea and Vietnam, they got it, and then we took them
Yeah.
up to the booth, the alumni booth, and they got to meet old players that were up there, like Magic Man Mikowski, who was the old quarterback for the Packers, and some others. And it was really cool because those guys, those Korean Vietnam vets, are up there. They're drinking beers and eating food that Packers are paying for. And all of these old players are coming up wearing the Super Bowl rings and all their stuff saying,
Yeah.
"Thank you. Tell me who are you?" and all this. And that's cool, man. When you're able to bring those guys and let them have their moment,
Oh, yeah.
that's awesome. So this year we did a thing with the Bengals that was a lot of fun. Um, next year we got a couple more teams on board, a couple different leagues. But yeah, it's wild when you get to do that stuff and you can bring, like we did in Pearl Harbor in
Yeah.
22, where we were there with the World War II veterans. And I'll do that again. I'll be there on the 7th in the morning for them. But, last year when you were able to do that with Green Bay, that was pretty fun. Yeah, a
Yeah.
buddy of mine, he's the head of their personnel and player relations. He set it up, and Gray let us go. And it was just like, do whatever you want, guys. Just have fun. And it was awesome,
Just don't
but
burn
when
it down.
yeah, or too much, because some of those dudes, they were up there getting fucking lit. I'm going to tell you
Yeah.
right now. Once again, curse like a sailor, love Jesus with all my soul. But they were getting lit on some beers up there. And I'm like, are they getting driven home? And the guy
Yeah.
in charge of them all was like, yeah, I got him. Um, and he had one, thank God. But yeah, they were having a party. So it was so cool because they earned it and deserved it. So it was a lot of fun to be able to see those guys up there. Um, And we'll try to do that again this year with some teams. We're going to see what we can make happen in 25. 25 is a
Yeah.
cool year. We got if I can give a shameless plug for 25.
Yes, please, please, please do.
Um, in 2025, we've got a concert at Red Rocks with Icelandic Ski Company. Winter on the Rocks. We're putting that on. 50 is going to be there. We're the nonprofit for the event, and going forward, thanks to Ben, a friend of mine who owns Icelandic Skis, will be the nonprofit for it. So the goal there, we'll probably do a 5K before the concert that day of, do a big fundraiser, and then send it, and have some people immediately send to therapy
Mm-hmm.
down at Resiliency. Then from there, we have the first 50-mile ultra marathon in the city of Vail.
Oh
Since
man.
like 88, we're putting that on in June 5th with the GoPro games. The Vail Valley Foundation has been, very good to us, and they're allowing us to put this on the GoPro games. So we'll kick off the GoPro games with a 50 miler and a 50K event. And then we're probably going to go back to Green Bay and put on the No Man 50-50. And that is an event that sucks. It's 50 miles, 50 burpees every mile, and you're going to do 2,500 burpees or a mix of burpees and ski erg and row and 50 miles of running, all in 24 hours. And that's going to be an event that'll have different heats or classes, single, double, 5 and 10 person events. But that one's gonna suck. I'm
Hmm.
gonna do that one too. I have to do that beforehand. So every time we do an event, I do it before. So I've got to go run the 50 miler in Vail before we do it. I got to do the No Man beforehand, and it's just gonna be rough. But I like to say, hey, I've been there, I've done it. So when I bring people out, it's like, yo, you're not doing it for the first time. I've suffered through this too,
Yeah.
and then I'll be there with them. And then we've got a couple NFL teams that are coming on board for next year. But yeah, you'll see our calendar drop July or January of 25, and we'll put out all of our events at 50ftf.org or the social media, which I know you guys will
Yep.
tag here. And social media sucks, so it's 50_4_the_fallen. Yeah, don't blame me. Um, some dude's got 50FTF. If that ever goes away, I'm just going to grab it and rename it. I'm waiting. So if you're out there, know that I'm looking at what you have daily to make sure I can take that one day.
It's
But
just nothing but cat pics. It has nothing in relation with the name.
dude's not even in America. I don't know. Yeah. He's doing his own thing, but God bless him for it. So I'm gonna but the moment it comes up, I'm grabbing it. But yeah, no, you can find us there. But yeah, we've talked about a lot today.
Yeah, man.
I think a thing that I've said think too many times there, but what I go off of is, why did we want to be in SF? And we need to get back to that reason. Why did we want to be in SF? And it was to
Yeah.
do something more. Sure, at the time, you had like a friend of mine, Aaron Crawford, looking cool, doing like the Army of One ice coming out of the snow
Yeah.
crap, which ain't no one doing that crap. Where's his tracks? No, you're not burying someone in and letting them lay there. It's dumb. But it was stuff like that. Or, you got the guy Halo, and I think he came in a seventh group.
Yeah.
The hard thing is going to be to decide what dialect I'm going to stay on the ground. Once again, we don't do that. We have interpreters, people smarter than us. Good for you if you think so.
Yeah.
But you get back to like, okay, that wasn't the reason I wanted to join. It was I wanted to join to do something more for me and to see who
Yeah.
I am, and really challenge myself. And that's the cool thing about SF is when you hang it up and you get to retire, then it turns into, okay, cool. Who am I? What can I do? Who can I be? Let me see who's there. And you
Yeah.
keep that same challenge and drive. And if that means you want to take a long walk with us and send a brother or sister to therapy, great, because I focus on military. Um, if you want to go do your own thing, God bless you. I'll help you. You can always reach out. I've helped other people set up, nonprofits, or I've helped them do events. So that to me, like, just keep doing more. Find
Yeah.
where you are, find the tribe you need to be with, have your faith in God, and then be like, okay, cool, that chapter's written. What's next? And some chapters are longer than others. And that's the
Yeah.
cool part. You don't have to do another job for 20 years. You can jump in and then continue to go and grow.
Yeah.
But it's pretty amazing. What are you doing this summer? What do you
This summer, let's let's wrap this up because I'm not publishing it out. I'm not putting it
okay.
out yet. You can put a marker to edit this. So yeah, it's a super secret mission, but I speaking to you now, I know that you're gonna want to be a part of this. But we're going 3, 2, 1. Chad, I can't thank you enough for being here today. And I will tell everybody's listening, we didn't plan this. I didn't plan this. This is a powerful testament to when you start your journey and you stay devoted to your path and your faith.
Mhm.
I don't care what you follow. I don't care what you end up leaning on. I just want you to find your faith. And yeah, I'll put in a little plug for Catholicism. Come be a Catholic. Come with me and Mark Warburg, and let's do our rosary every morning. But if
Yeah.
not, find out what you are, find out what your faith is, and start leaning on it, because just like it's helped me and it's helped Chad, it will be the one thing that when everything fails, it will keep you on your feet. Chad, thank you again for being here. I can't wait to have you back on the show, because there's so many different things that we can talk about. But once again, where can people go to find your organization?
You can go onto 50ftf.org. That's the website. You can go onto social, 50 for the Fallen. Just put it in, it'll come up. You can Google us, or you can meet me at any of our events, and you can come out there and talk to me in person. You can email info@50ftf.org. I answer everything. Or you can just do my own personal email, chad@50ftf.org, and I'll answer everything. I'm praying for you. I love you if you're out there, and understand that you may have left the military or whatever you thought was you, but you're so much more. God bless you, and know that people like Denny and I, we're here for you because Christ is here for us.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you could just share this with your friends, like it, follow us on social media, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, thank you for being here with us, and we'll see you all next time. Till then, take care.
Happy